Oh,
So
please
what?
don't mention my age. We'll cut that part out.
But
You
you do
can
not
say
look
middle
like.
age.
You do
Yes.
not look like.
Secondly, Christmas is undoubtedly one of the largest festivities in Trinidad and Tobago, and most probably the wider Caribbean and Latin America. But our Christmas season starts from around September. Also seeing, if I remember correctly, close to 800,000 deers, lamps lit. For the first time in my life, I've seen such a phenomenon. But our country also listened to Hindi Bollywood music from the likes of Lata Mangeshkar, Kishore Kumar, Mohammed Rafi, etc.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new episode of Be Podcastive. Today, we have a very, very special guest, His Excellency Dr. Roger Gopul, the High Commissioner for the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago with us. So let's get started. Hi, Dr. Roger Gopul. That's a pleasure to host you on Be Podcastive today.
Thank you so much for having me. And it is my genuine pleasure to be here.
So how are you today?
Always happy.
Great. So before we start, I would like to know that what exactly inspired you to pursue your career in diplomacy and represent your country abroad?
What inspired me, I guess, would be basically all of us, if given the opportunity to serve our countries. We will do so. And it is not ever for serving of self when you're asked to serve your country. It is the opportunity to pursue the greater good for the greatest number of people. Just knowing that you are given a chance to help your country grow, to see it prosper, and to represent it in the international arena. I think for me, this is a lifelong dream that has come true.
So since how long you have been working as a diplomat now?
Not very long, actually. Just about 7 years ago, I started as ambassador, and I'm very happy to say that it has been 7 great years of doing the best service for Trinidad and Tobago.
And before India, you were in?
I was in South Africa for almost 4 years.
Okay, and now you're in India.
In India for almost 3.5.
3.5 years. So how is your experience in India till now?
Honestly, the expectation and the experience is not the same.
Okay, so what was your expectations first?
Right. So in Trinidad and Tobago, we have what we call the Indian diaspora. Now, that Indian diaspora came in 1845. So what we know as Indian culture in Trinidad and Tobago, in the way that we dressed or the way that we speak in terms of Bhojpuri, not Hindi, being the language of our forefathers. So I came to India with an expectation that it was one culture similar to ours, only to realize that India itself, it's multicultural. And every state you go into, the food changes, the clothing changes, the language changes, even how religion is practiced in North India differs from South India. And it's a beautiful diversity, but it is not what I expected, but much better than I hoped for.
Wonderful. So I'm glad that you're liking what you're getting in India. So in terms of food, so is it different from Trinidad?
Well, the answer to that is basically yes. We eat curry, but the curry that we have is not the same curry as India. Indian food is very spicy. Now, Trinidadian food is very spicy, and I'll add that we actually have one of the spiciest chilies in the world. It's called the Maruga scorpion pepper. But to me, India has a different kind of spice, which is in almost every major dish that you have. Whereas for Trinidad and Tobago, we add our spice at the side of the dish and not necessarily in the dish itself. Some of the food is similar in terms of our aloo curry, our chicken curry, our prawns curry. That is similar, but then we also incorporate in our dishes elements that are unique to Trinidad and Tobago, and I guess the wider Caribbean, something that we call ground provision, which I have not seen here in India and which I miss very much indeed.
So now I would like to ask you that when you were in Trinidad and Tobago, so like your childhood was there only, your education was there. So how was your childhood and how were your school days and college days, if you would like to share some point?
Sure. So like any Caribbean child, we grew up next to rivers. That is where we learn to swim. So example, I've never learned how to swim properly in a swimming pool, but we do know how to jump into a river and then you learn how to paddle from there. We experience our waterfalls surrounded by beaches. It is typical for Trinidadians every weekend or every other weekend or so. You must pass near a beach or drive by a beach or something to that effect. So as a Caribbean child, that is what I grew up in. And of course, I miss the rainforests, I miss the waterfalls, I miss the beaches, I miss Caribbean life. It would always be part of me no matter where I am. So that was a very lovely part of my childhood.
To find more waterfalls and mountains, you can visit Himachal.
Himachal, yes.
Yeah. And for beaches, you can go to Goa.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
But that's the difference. Back home, we just take less than an hour drive.
Yeah, and here
And we are there.
And here it will take more time.
Yes, it takes
So,
more time.
Have you traveled in India
I have.
other than Delhi?
I have been to various parts of India. I've seen the beauties of the Himalayas and I've seen the glories of Ganga. I've been to Tamil Nadu and I've also been able to visit Kerala, deep south. I've been to Mumbai and the glorious cities and buildings that surround Mumbai, such a major metropolitan city. So I've been around and it has all been such a beautiful experience, I must say.
Wonderful. So, like, if we'll talk about your favorite place in India, so which one is that till now?
Honestly, it will always be Rishikesh.
Really?
Yes, and there's a reason for it. I love simplicity. And I believe that simplicity is the key to everlasting happiness and contentment. And Rishikesh, to a large extent, it reflects that. Just sitting next to Ganga or looking at the mountains or just looking at the cow walk by undisturbed, it is truly a paradise.
It's peacefully. So, have you visited Haridwar also?
Yes, I have been to
And,
Haridwar.
Did you witness the Ganga Aarti over there?
I have been part of the Ganga Aarti in Haridwar. I've been part of the Ganga Aarti in Rishikesh, in a few places in Rishikesh. And my heart is still there in Rishikesh.
Wonderful. So now about your personal life, as you like before this interview, we were discussing that your age is all like already 50, but you do not look like.
Oh,
So
please
what-
don't mention my age. We'll cut that part out.
But
You
you do
can
not
say
look
middle
like.
age.
You do not look like. So what's the reason behind that? How you are keeping yourself so fit?
The key to it is that regardless of what philosophy we carry in life, it doesn't matter what religion it be either. At the end of the day, we use a key instrument, a critical instrument, and that instrument is called the gross body, this physical aspect of ourselves. And just like you are using a vehicle or you're using a musical instrument, it must be well tuned. So when the body is well tuned, then you are able to experience maximum benefit from it in terms of achieving the objectives of your life or achieving greater purpose in life. So no matter where we are or what we do or whatever level in society we might be at, taking care of the body became a major objective for me. But of course, this is just the body, the physical body. In order to take care of the body, you need to first take care of the mind. So if the mind is healthy in its thought, if the mind is healthy in its processes, then naturally you will want to keep the body healthy as well, because it is just a reflection of the control and management that you have of the mind. So how do I keep my body healthy? By keeping my mind healthy.
So,
By keeping my mind healthy, I ensure that it is always at peace. It is always composed. I ensure that I think positive thoughts as much as I can. And in so doing, I'm then very particular about what I eat, how I exercise, how I dress, how I conduct myself. So it is not just the physical, but it is behavioral and it is mental as well.
So how you keep yourself stress-free, even in the situation where it's highly stressed or something. So how you keep yourself calm?
Stress-free, I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
But there are two elements to understand in life. One being what you can control, and two, what you cannot control. Outside of your person, outside of your mind, you have limited control. You cannot control traffic. You cannot control the weather. You cannot control other people's behavior or perceptions. But what you can control, yourself. You can control your responses. You can control your interpretation. And you can decide how you want to react or interact with the world around you. Whatever those situations be, you maintain control of only you.
You. Very well said. So I recently came across that you have written one book, which is more about Ramayana.
Yes.
Yeah, so could you
So
please...
what inspired me were basically two things that inspired me. One is the building of the Ram Mandir in Ayodhya. And I was very pleased to see the construction started. I visited the Ram Mandir a few times actually, about 4 or 5 times. And I had the opportunity to see the groundwork that was being laid at that point in time. It was truly inspirational. But secondly, knowing that India celebrated 75 years of independence, I decided to write a book using 75 verses from the Ramayana, 75 inspirational verses for everyday life. And that book was published early part of 2022, if I remember correctly. But another passion project for me was the writing of Caribbean folklore. I grew up with these stories of these spirits and these paranormal activities that took place in Trinidad and Tobago, let's say 50 years ago or more. And my grandparents actually believed it to be true. But however, the oral traditions with regard to these Caribbean folklore started passing away. So I decided to document it.
Awesome.
So that was my second.
So by this, I can assume that writing is your passion.
It is a joy and it is a hobby, but it also preserves. It preserves thought. It preserves ideas. And generations to come will benefit from this. And that exactly was what I wanted to do. I wanted to ensure that my children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and every other child in Trinidad and Tobago especially, and wherever they are, they could benefit from these thoughts, ideas, and stories.
Wonderful. So, when did you visited last to Trinidad and Tobago?
Christmas, December 2022. I was at home. It is an important time for our country. One, it is the end of the year. But secondly, Christmas is undoubtedly one of the largest festivities in Trinidad and Tobago and most probably the wider Caribbean and Latin America. But our Christmas season starts from around September.
Really?
Really.
3 months before.
Almost 3 to 4 months before,
Yeah.
with what we call, again, it will be Spanish folklore music, parang. And it is done from September all the way down to Christmas. And it is a time of the year where everyone celebrates. It doesn't matter race, creed, religion. It doesn't matter in our country. Christmas is that time of the year. It brings back so many memories of old Christmas for me, which I try to recreate. But also, it is a time to see my family and friends.
True. So I came to know that you also celebrate Holi and Diwali over there. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
So is it?
Yes, actually, yeah. So Holi is called Pagwa.
Yeah. So is it different from how we celebrate it in India?
Slightly. So in the past, while I was growing up, it was done with colored water.
Okay.
Now they try to use more powder, just as India does. So India uses a lot of powder and now flowers to celebrate Holi. So Pagwa for us is celebrated in that respect, but it is not a public holiday.
Okay.
But Diwali is.
Diwali is a public holiday over
Diwali
there?
is a public holiday. And Diwali is celebrated at all levels of our society. The man on the street, way up to the highest office holders, we all celebrate Diwali because it is part of our national pride. In Trinidad and Tobago, we are genuinely a melting pot of multiple cultures, multiple people, multiple cuisines. And Diwali is a part of that cultural landscape that makes up Trinidad and Tobago.
Wonderful. So have you got a chance over here in India to celebrate that? You must have.
Yes, I have celebrated Diwali here in Delhi, and I've also celebrated Diwali in Ayodhya, the birthplace of Lord Rama, which was such an amazing experience, one that I would never forget. Also seeing, if I remember correctly, close to 800,000 diyas, lamps lit. For the first time in my life, I've seen such a phenomenon.
True. So because we celebrate Diwali in a very huge manner.
Yes, yes.
True. So, and what kind of food you generally have during this festive seasons?
So in Trinidad and Tobago, strictly vegetarian on Diwali day, especially. Yes, in India as well. And but the Hindus in Trinidad and Tobago, they would fast for almost a period of 21 days in preparation for Diwali. Their homes, they would tend to do Lakshmi Puja as well. And they would erect flags that we call Jandi flags, depicting that Lakshmi Puja was done during this period leading up to Diwali. The type of food we would have would all be, as I said, to reiterate, vegetarian. So we would have rice, something called curry. We would have what we call sweet rice. In India, it's called kheer.
Yeah.
And we will have like a pumpkin and roti. So our roti is not the same as chapati, and it is not naan. So it is something that we call dal puri, or something else called paratha, which is a little different from the paratha that you make here.
Of course. So as in India, we see a different kind of cultural diversity in every state or every city we go. So is it a kind of cultural diversity we see in Trinidad and Tobago itself?
I think that's such a good question, and I'm glad that you asked. We first need to understand what is Trinidad and Tobago. What consists of our people? And historically, Trinidad and Tobago were first populated by the Amerindians, Caribs, and the Arawaks. Then came the Africans, and then came the Chinese, the Portuguese, then Indians. Each group brought something that was very unique to Trinidad and Tobago, whether it be in terms of how they dress, or whether it be in terms of how they cook or what we eat, whether it be in our language. As time went by, we developed what we call a Trinidad and Tobago identity, a Trinidad and Tobago culture, meaning that what was done in the past by certain groups, unique to that particular group, became part of that cultural landscape. So no longer do we see that division or that diversity that may create separation. It actually brings collaboration. It brings harmony among all groups in our country. So, for example, Carnival, that is celebrated in our country, one of the greatest shows on earth, you will see every person of every age group participating, every ethnic group participating, every religious group, more or less, participating in this event called Carnival. And that is what we know as Trinidad and Tobago. When we play soca music, which is the soul of Calypso, our music is for every person, from young to old, in Trinidad and Tobago. But yet, when we light our diyas for Diwali, it is every person participating in this. So this is what we know as the culture of Trinidad and Tobago.
Once I got the opportunity to listen to the music of Trinidad and Tobago, if I'm not wrong, that was Chutney Band or something.
Yes, it was Chutney and Steel Pan.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I got the opportunity to listen to them, and it was amazing.
Yes.
And even when they were singing some songs of India as well, that was so amazing.
Yes.
So I was also researching about that, the culture of there. So I came to know that there are a lot of people who are the influencers.
Yes.
And they are very culturally rich, and in terms of the talent also, like in terms of music, in terms of different arts. So what are your thoughts about the music culture of Trinidad?
So when we talk about the music of Trinidad and Tobago, I'll mention this briefly. We talk first about Calypso. Calypso started as a social commentary where they discussed elements that was happening around them socially. And that evolved into what we know as the soul of Calypso, soca. Now, soca music tend to be more rhythmic, and it is used in parties, we dance. So that is what we know as soca. But our country also listened to Hindi Bollywood music from the likes of Lata Mangeshkar, Kishore Kumar, Mohammed Rafi, etc. But when it came over to Trinidad and Tobago, and some of our singers decided that they would do cover versions, they did cover versions using the rhythm of soca.
Okay.
And so they put a new rhythm to Bollywood songs, and it became very unique to Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah,
But in addition to that, we have our Bhojpuri folklore that came from our foreparents, and that is still practiced, called chutney. And it is done by great artists, Sam Budram. We have Anand Yankaran, Rakesh Yankaran, who we call the Raja, the king of chutney.
I also saw him once performing in Delhi only. Like last year, I guess the band was here.
They are fantastic performers that still maintain some traditions. And in the Calypso arena, we have legends such as Marshall Montano and Kes and so many others that are the true cultural ambassadors of Trinidad and Tobago and the wider Caribbean.
And there are very different instruments also, is there, like, which is not generally available with other people, but I once witnessed one instrument which I guess...
It's called a steel pan.
Yeah, I guess Johan was there.
Yes.
Yeah, and he was playing it so beautifully. It was so mesmerizing to listen to that.
Now, the steel pan was created using steel drums that we filled oil in. And those drums were then so crafted to produce music. And each pan created could carry different sounds. So we have the guitar pan as an example, but then we have the bass pan. And the various pan will then allow different types of sound. And the steel pan, believe it or not, is the only musical instrument invented in the 1900s in the world. And I'm proud to say that it is ours, Trinidad and Tobago.
That's really amazing. So now coming to you as a person, what do you generally like to do when in your leisure time?
My leisure time?
What you do?
I believe in really focusing on family. And that is the most important part of my life. Every society stands on the strength of the family. If the family is weak and if the family breaks down, naturally society would collapse, naturally so. So I've always believed in that. My time is spent with my sons and my wife and enjoy living together, growing together, evolving together in all aspects. You know, as a parent, it is not just being a father and you look at your children grow. It is not. As they grow, you grow. As they evolve, you evolve. So that is one critical and most important part of my life. Other than that, for me as a person, I just love to read.
And then you started writing as well?
And then I started writing.
Wonderful. So what kind of food you love?
I love my Trinidad and Tobago pilau.
Okay.
And I miss our version of macaroni pie. And I love my crab and callaloo and dumpling and our ground provisions. That is what I love.
Do you cook?
I do actually, yes. I do cook.
Okay, so...
And I'm sure you're about to ask me what I cook.
Yes.
Exactly what I just mentioned.
Okay, so everything you know how to cook.
I love cooking, yes. It's like very therapeutic.
People like that?
They say so, but I am not sure if they just don't want to offend me. Yes.
That's wonderful. So I'd like to ask you that what's the best experience in India till now you had?
Undoubtedly, the culture and the people. Undoubtedly. Just experiencing this ancient culture, thousands of years old, stands out to me. But I'd also like to add that Indian literature, the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, despite it being thousands of years old, I still see relevance today. And that also stands out to me. I love the fact that India preserves its culture, it preserves its history. I admire it greatly. And I do pray and hope as future generations take over leadership in the next 20, 30, 200 and 300 years from now, that this continues, because what India offers the world is so unique.
Very well explained. So the last question which you would like to ask, that what kind of similarities which you see in between India and Trinidad and Tobago?
Definitely our love for cricket. So both countries share that passion. And we have heroes on both sides, whether it be the likes of Brian Lara or Sachin Tendulkar. But other than that, Trinidad and Tobago, like India, we love the environment. We cherish the environment. And we do everything that we can to protect our environment. And I believe that as our nations grow closer together, we will continue to share so much in terms of our music, our movies, our culture, our cuisine, and definitely our friendship.
Wonderful. So just one more last question, which
sure.
So one message which you would like to give to your Indian viewers also, and to the viewers from Trinidad and Tobago as well. What one message would you like to give them?
In answering that question, I'll tell you the one message I give to myself a long, long time ago. And it's basically that whatsoever a man sows, the same shall he also reap. In so doing, the message is very simple. Let us live a life that contributes, a life that adds value. Let us do the best that we can in all things that we do, and ensure that at the end of it all, we can look back and say, I have run a good race. I have fought a good fight.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for your time, and it was a great talking to you. I hope you also had a good time with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
for
much.
this, and all the best to you and to our viewership.
Thank you so much.